Hello and welcome to GM Tips, a show where my friends and I share with you our thoughts and suggestions on how to game master your role-playing game. I'm your host, Satine Phoenix, co-creator of Maze Arcana and a dungeon master for D&D. Let's look back at some of my favorite moments.
Okay, now how can we take this interesting little character Sat that you make, and how can we make her fucked up? Suspense is sometimes about painting a picture of what's not there versus what is there.
The main thing about an epic adventure is that there's a lot more going on than just what's happening with the players themselves, right? There's a lot of motion, there's a lot of moving parts and so forth. It's like the Battle of Helm's Deep. Yes. And so it's important to remember as the encounter progresses or as the adventure progresses to remind the PCs that there are these other outside elements inside the scope of the adventure they're playing, and that they come into play and that they interact directly with the characters, so that when they have those moments in the game where they might stumble, something might be there to like pick them up.
I would challenge him sometimes. So, he was playing a fighter. My father was playing Tempros Grangers, I remember, and he was approaching to close for combat, and of course I breathed acid breath on him and then used the bull strength, and it was very, very close fight. And at the end, they prevailed, and at the end, he was like, all right, he's like searching the ogre, trying to figure out what item gave him these powers. And I was like, well, no, you notice there's a black dragon tattoo on his chest or whatever. He's like, are you telling me there's no item here? This is just a natural ability that and I was like, yep. He's like, that's bogus. I can't believe what a chintzy DM you are. I was like, yes!
So once that was sort of settled, the kid looks up and he's looking at all the papers, so serious. Okay. So he's looking at these sheets like he knows exactly what's happening. And then he looks at me dead in the face and he's like, can I play a pig? And I was like, yes, sure, why not? And he goes, can I be a ninja?
Oh, so cute.
Okay, you want to be a pig ninja. This sounds great. We're going to use this paper, but you're totally a pig ninja.
For dungeon masters out there, it's important that you write up maybe a handful of descriptions ahead of time so you know kind of where the direction you're going. And it's perfectly okay to ad-lib off of those descriptions and go off script and so forth, but just to have something kind of to base yourself off of is really kind of key, just so you have that something to anchor you. But theater of the mind is perfectly the best way to go in this case, because nothing evokes the feelings that you're going to have as a player or as a dungeon master like what's in your head. Putting everything out onto a battle mat totally puts it into a confining space that has limitations. And in Epic, there is no limitations.
So if you're in battle and you're fighting in that immediate moment, then the minis make sense. But if you're going to the destination or just in the descriptions, it's better to have everyone be present and listening and paying attention.
Absolutely.
Pay attention is very important.
Yes.
Goblin Queen, let us not fight. I am like you. I may look like a pig, but I am half goblin.
Oh, cute.
And that makes you my family. We should not fight each other. We should instead have a party. Oh. And he rolled a 20, and I was like, y'all are having a party.
There was one called, I want to say it was called the Black Cursor or something like that. It was part of kind of like a Genghis Khan campaign, where Genghis Khan is coming from the west, from the east, and he's flooding west.
Oh wow!
And it's huge. It's big.
Sounds epic.
And you end up in the Khan's presence, and he's like, "What is best in life?" And you're like, "Lollipops." And so,
I fundamentally don't believe in balanced encounters. I don't know what is the fun of that, right? And that gets down to that thing about how you're going to beat the goblins. It's not a balanced encounter, right? And then when you get to the end, by the time you're fighting the boss monster, I'm a big believer in like stacking the deck hugely against the players and making them feel overwhelmed, because I think every player wants to be John McClane in Die Hard, right? They want to get their ass kicked, but they want to win all the way through. That feeling of victory being earned. And that means that the bad guys have to be overwhelming. It has to be like this feeling of despair, we could never do it, because when they do it, they feel like heroes.
At which point, as a DM, you can produce this. Once they have this, they can discover that they're is a hidden message written on the bottom.
Oh, that is so cool.
It tells them that they need to hold on to this. Yeah, it's really fun, and it's a great mechanic because now that that's in the game, your players are going to want to use their light.
First and foremost, when you finish, and I recommend this to any game session, when you finish the game, when you wrap up and the players are putting their dice away, take notes of what just happened. Because it might be weeks and weeks before you play again, and you want to remember as much detail of that final beat as you can. So write down what happened, write down those climactic beats that you want to open on next time, and then when the players return, take a moment to set the stage. Take a moment to, really recapture and narrate exactly what you left on. Last we left off, as the crawling flames in the distance of the fire plane begin to flicker and brighten the outskirts of your vision. You see as the fume-like thick black clouds fire up with ash and brimstone in the background as the shadowed figure of the fire giant Shar Khan drags his blade across the rock, the arcing of it down, slamming with sparks into the stone before you. Glancing over your shoulder, you look back as the warm wind hits the back of your neck. You look down to see the 1,000-foot drop into the large lava falls, an open sea of fire. What do?
Why don't you CR that way?
You killed him!
Remember when I said I rolled a 20? I lied.
I could roll on, but instead, I have a surprise for you. Amy Vorpal, Ruti Rutenberg, and Matthew Mercer. Yay! Yay! I'm so glad you guys are all back, and you're super back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been gone a long time.
I know. I almost had the beard for it too, but I had to shave it.
Matt Mercer bearded.
Yeah, I know.
Scary.
I don't know how. Can you grow a beard? And have
Apparently I can.
Oh, wow.
That's partially why I did it, was just to see if I could. And then I did know it. That's cool.
I didn't see pictures.
I know, pictures are
So, today's theme is community, and we met because of Celebrity Charity 20.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was named something else a long time ago, but it was before any of us figured out how the heck to live stream our games. But more than that, that was like a fun side thing. The whole point of Celebrity Charity 20 was to get as many of our friends in one room to play at the same time and raise money for charity. Like, those were the two things. The streaming was separate. But the community. I want to talk about community with you guys. I know our experience. I don't really know your guys' experience, even though I know that there's got to be a backstory. With game masters like us, there's always a backstory. So let's start with Amy. Talk about your community experience.
Well, I guess I actually, so I started playing D&D in college, and then I started actually streaming when I came out here with Saving Throw show. And that was a small but intense community. So it was very, these people that come onto the channel, their handles, but then you also, because of Twitter and the accessibility of Facebook and all that stuff, you also realize what their first names are. And then and we had, I guess it was around 50 people, and those aren't that many names to learn. So they'd come on or donate or do something, and we'd be like, "What's up? That's Josh, that's Lee, that's Travis," and we would know. And the other thing is I always wrote songs for those streams. So I wrote one song per game, and now I have the album Songs in the Key of D&D, but they would expect that. And to the point of now, almost in every stream I go and I don't sing a little ukulele song, there's someone there being like, where's my song? So there's a level of like friendly expectation. There's definitely a give and a take. And for the most part, you can look at Twitter or Facebook and say, oh, look how many followers or friends I have, and look at that number. And it has grown, but I prefer to think of them as more of, like actual friends, people that come up to me and say, hey, I just want to say hi. And I'm like, yeah, say hi, sure. I know who you are. Like you think that just because I don't know your face, I don't know who you are, but I know you. I really, really do. So it feels really good. the last thing I'll say is this year I had a goal. I do a lot of like self-work, and one of the things that I was supposed to do back in March or April was name my year, and I had done a lot of work, and my year was Misfit No More, and I can definitely say that I feel like I belong.
Aww. I like how you name years like they're episodes of a TV show.
I mean, it's not the most creative name. Like, I would definitely not submit that as a title for a TV
one where
episode,
Amy is no longer a misfit and you're a friend's show.
It's the episode when Amy, finally fits in. That's my Hollywood voice, I guess, in the pitch room. That's what I sound like. But, yeah, that's how you're supposed to
I'm
do
so
it.
excited for that character in a D&D game. I think for me, and I've almost been, I don't want to say coattails in a way, but I came onto this far after the rest of you guys. So when I came into this thing and you guys all embraced me, you know? And then, oh shoot, don't do that, I'm gonna cry.
This is going to be a tearjerker episode. Literally. Before that.
Before that what? Like how I got here?
Yeah.
Well, I was in the army.
Your version of community in gaming.
Well,
conventions, I'm talking about the conventions.
Right. I was getting there, man. There's the subtlety. Matt doesn't just start off combat.
Maybe I should.
Maybe you should. Butcher there, Pat.
Exactly.
Well, so like for me coming into this, like I didn't have a whole lot of experience with streaming. Most of the stuff I had been doing would be long form or movie, or I was doing voiceover for stuff. And when I did my D&D experience was mostly Adventures League to begin with, or organized play. And so when I really got into that, I jumped in feet first, face first, whatever. I'm going to go feet first with that one, because then when they handed me a module and they said, hey, somebody didn't show up, can you run this? And I'm like, sure. I haven't played this one. I'll just, run it. And going from that to running 7 games, 9 games in a convention and having prepped, and one of them being an epic that I had to draw maps for, like do all the crazy stuff. That community not only being like accepting of me as an individual when I sat down at the table for the first time to play, but then as an individual when I'm the one that steps up and is has to facilitate their fun, and being like, yes, this is the thing you can do. And then now we go to conventions, and that's mostly probably been where we build the most on that, because like you say, you know the names of the people that are there, because they're interacting with you so much. And I met a lot of our fans at the convention, and they're like, hey, I know you, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah.
And then actually a lot of our people are like, wow, you actually stayed and talked to me. I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because I talk to you all the time on the internet.
Yeah. But yeah, you're a part of these things, just the same as everything else. So when the opportunity to see this community kind of grow and rally around us, and then also Hollywood's a scary place for a lot of people, and it doesn't let people in. And people don't people come out here with these dreams and expectations of something, and it's a game of attrition. And so to find people that are like-minded, especially that want to play games that nobody else wants to play originally, that's such an awesome community to be involved in. I'm so thankful to be sitting here on this couch with you guys, and to have the people that are in our games, and to have the people that we get to play with, and the people that want to watch us, because they commiserate with our stories, not just our story on the table, but our story that we came out here with, and they find courage in the courage we find in each other. And that's really just the cyclical takes a village kind of thing.
I love that. Well, it's to that point too. When you meet somebody and you've both come from a gaming background, it's different than having a similar interest of a movie or a television show, or it's closer to a book in some cases because you've been through this adventure together. But when you've had your own individual experiences, when at separate times you've both climbed the tower in the temple of elemental evil, it's both love that movie or that scene. It's I lost my childhood friend in that chamber with the stone goggles. Right. I remember that chamber. It was a bitch. It's something so visceral and so immediately bonding between the two of you. And since growing up with the communities that were so disparate and so localized to different gaming stores and internet communities, and watching it evolve and expand and become more accepting and more open and more inviting, we now see this wonderful merger of the old school gamers that were there when the game first launched back in the 70s and played through the 80s. And then we have a community of people that grew up like that, but then got too busy and got a family and kids and are now, reintroducing themselves and their family to the gaming community. And we have all these new young kids that never had exposure to it that now are experiencing and learning what this incredible format of communal storytelling is, all coming together. And I see gaming groups of many generations that you would never expect to see in the same room together at a convention, running one-shots for other people or for their gaming group, and they're all just genuinely excited to create together. And there isn't like a strange hero worship element, there isn't like a weird separation. They're there with you, they understand that you're a person that just wants to have fun.
Yeah, we're their people and they're our people.
And there aren't a lot of forms of media that allow that type of connection, and because of that, the community feels so much more personal.
Yeah, I was actually noticing recently how we're all excited to play together, whereas in the 90s and in the last 10 years, it's like, hey, let's go see a movie. But that importance of getting there 3 hours ahead of time, it's just like, we're going to go to a place and not talk. Well, that's fun and all, but why don't we just spend that 5 hours and play together? And that's really important. That's why I love 2017. It's really interesting.
Well, you bringing up the word play, actually, there was a stigma, there used to be, where I was like, I can't tell men that I play D&D because they will look at me and say, I love you. And this is real, like this is totally my experience, where it was like, but I'm a three-dimensional infinite person. Like this isn't the only thing that is cool about me. However, now looking back, I'm like, it was a connection that both people were misinterpreting. It really just meant, let's play. Let's play. Let's play. Whatever that means.
I can play with you.
I can play with you.
You like to play, and I like to play.
Yeah.
I love you because I know that we have this possible new future together.
Play is such an important word, universally in life. I think culturally we try so hard to teach ourselves to stop playing.
And separate
from it, yeah. To understand that you have to maintain this persona of an adult who's responsible and doesn't do these childish things like play anymore. And I think you lose something that's so intrinsic and important to enjoy life when you do that. And it's games like tabletop gaming and communities like this that help people cultivate that again or never lose it. Because it's in that space where you let go of that responsibility and allow yourself to just enjoy creating with other people, that you find happiness in all other aspects of your life. You find lasting relationships and connections with people and friendships. And I mean, this is just one avenue of what we're doing, what the community's doing, but it's one of the strongest avenues I've ever discovered to allow us to never, lose that sense of play. It's so important.
My parents, never touched the game before in their lives, would probably have been categorized in that group that was like D&D. Isn't that like Satan worshiping or something? Like what happens with that? Like, are you sure that that's a thing? I mean, my mom, when I introduced them to it in like Christmas of 2014 with 5e coming out, and I my mom asked me to do a thing that was gonna take like 2 or 3 hours that I really didn't want to do. It was like sit down and watch some show or something like that, and I was like, I will make you a deal. I will trade you 45 minutes of D&D for your 2-hour program. And she tried to back out after we made the deal. She tried to make out, and I said, are you trying to raise a child that does not keep their word?
Oh, ouch.
That's a Koval-type checkmate.
Yeah, it is.
And she goes, absolutely not. 6 hours later, with my sister, my best friend from high school, and my mom, all sitting around playing Pandelver. And then my dad wakes up. He was sick. He wakes up now that my mom is just running around this is amazing. Her character's name is Lancelot. Let's talk about the starting creativity point and so now what she creates, because her mind just went crazy on that, right? And then my dad wakes up and he's like, could I build a town? Could I have could I have a business? Yeah, Dad, you can do all of these things. Oh my God. And if there's not rules, I'll make them up.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And they're just now they're invested. They watch our shows. They go through my dad's. I'm not going to say what his handle is on Twitch, but my dad is on Twitch to watch the things that we do with our friends.
I love that so much.
Amazing.
Invested in the story.
Yeah, he's invested in what's going on. He asks me questions. Sometimes I'm like, Dad, I can't tell you that. It would ruin it.
That's a good segue
That is amazing.
to the first question. How has gaming helped you in life? Now, some of us have been playing for over 20 years, and some of us have been playing for under 20 years. Different stages of life.
I'll say for me, gaming, I owe everything to it. Like, I mean, gaming of all types, board games, video games, but tabletop gaming taught me social skills at a time where I didn't have the opportunity to really feel comfortable enough and to lose that sense of, not wanting to let go in a social space. It triggered my love of performing arts and got me into theater, which then got me into acting and then got me into my whole life right now. It helped me facilitate a level of comfort to be able to take charge of a social situation and drive it when no one else is making a decision. That's the GM urge. When no one else is driving the story, you have to take charge and move it. And that has put me into leadership positions in different situations that has then given me comfort to create in spaces. I owe most of my closest friends. I owe my fiance. My relationship with her, one of the first things we bonded over was me running D&D for her before we were even dating. Like, so much of my life is based around gaming.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Like, it's changed me irrevocably, genuinely.
There'll be rocking chairs on the porch that's like 6 of them like lined up in a row and a little table and like, boy, get tea.
They'll have little gimbals so the dice don't look flat,
You'll be using the it's better.
Because you can't bend over. That's amazing.
And it's probably still live streamed. But through contact lenses.
Because the future.
Oh my gosh.
It's coming faster than we want it to. I think that it's in a strange way, like I had a lot of that stuff growing up. You and I have talked a lot about like our childhoods and the way that we found solace in gaming, and then we found like these things left and right that I started in performing arts super young. So I almost came in reverse of that.
Right.
And I was in the military for a really long time, and I went to war and I came back, and one of the things that tabletop gaming has done for me has been to temper my take charge, because I can be an aggressive person if I have to be, and I don't really want to be. And my voice can be very commanding, but GMing specifically teaches you how to control the flow of emotion with the people you're connected to, or how to connect to those people by drawing that thing in. Satine does this really rhythmic, slow thing that draws you in, and sometimes you utilize that same thing, and then sometimes it's like where you're just like, gotta do the thing. And that's a moment that when I realized that it had evened me out a little bit, and dare I say that I have some form of PTSD, that is a thing that makes that world normal. And then that the friends that I have from the military, or the friends that like work at Wizards that were in the military and went to war, like we have these conversations about like, yeah, you too? Awesome. And now there's all this science backing up that Dungeons and Dragons or role playing or what have you is helpful for somebody's mental health. When the 80s was saying literally Tom Hanks will jump off a building if you don't stop. Like that's such a powerful, like, look at, for a GM there is no finer moment than that moment where you pull the rug out from him and say, look at that, you were standing on the truth the whole time and you chose to look the other way. And that's really what society did. And that's what we're finding out. This stuff is actually good for you.
I'm writing a book on it.
Write that book, girl.
Well, beyond, I get to put this on my resume now, like plays D&D and has played for a long time. That's incredible.
For D&D. That's the other part.
Grade leader.
What?
For D&D.
For D&D?
You're playing D&D for D&D.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm playing for, yes, exactly, for D&D. I guess I get to, we can announce that now. But beyond that, gaming in general, I did a lot of work or I did a lot of research about what happiness was, and there were 3 things that made people happy, and they are community, feeling like you actually do belong somewhere, which is arguably the hardest one to actually accomplish, and then the second one is sustainability. So if you can't literally pay for food, that's a big factor. But between earning a decent living and then earning $1 billion a year, there's not that much increase in happiness. It's like if you can sustain yourself, that's where the happiness comes from. And then the third one is making other people happy, making other people smile. It has nothing to do with you. And I think that, gaming obviously for some of us can help pay the bills, but if they can't, at least crosses those 2 things off the list. And it's community, and it is making other people feel really good. And you get that joy right away. So the biggest metaphor I can think of is actually with my family. They don't really play D&D. I'm the only Vorpal who's taken up the mantle. But who's taken up the sword. But we do game a lot. Cards, poker, any tabletop games. And I've got a huge, big old Catholic family. So every Thanksgiving or Christmas, we'll all sit around. And the biggest thing is we'll show up and it's like there is drama. There just is with all these people. This one's got a kid all of a sudden. The guy's not doing great. This one's got a mental disorder. This one's over here doing all this crazy stuff. And then we're like, who cares? Do you want to play? It's this thing where it's like we've all got our shit. Who cares? I love you, and the way I'm showing you that I love you is to deal out hearts. We're gonna play hearts together, or spades. You want to be my partner? Great. Don't mess this up. The other stuff doesn't matter because we're able to really, really look at what's important, and that is problem solving and puzzling out things together.
I love it. Well, it's one of the things too about the idea of humanity. We're a tribal people by nature. We've survived and evolved and adapted by helping each other progress and helping each other be better people. Whether that be through religion, whether that be through just common interests, whether it be just through bases of survival. And as we've gotten this new technology age, there's been this push of kind of individual, segmented, separate, selfish world outlook. I'm focused purely on my needs and what the next thing I need to achieve is in front of me. Gaming is one of the few things I find that universally brings people back to that tribal space, that face-to-face element of us sharing experience together and working towards a common goal. And to the family element, what you were saying, I've seen so many families, talk about that the weird teenage years where the parents and the kids don't get along. I've seen so many pictures and heard so many stories about families that through role-playing games and through tabletop games have rediscovered a family game night, and such reforged a bond and a love and appreciation between parents and children, and it's awe-inspiring and so exciting.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I want to jump in. When you kept saying 4D&D, I kept hearing 4th edition or something, and I was like, no! No!
I mean,
I will never go back. I'm never going back.
I mean, all editions
I was like, why am I fist bumping?
As long as you're at the table playing, that's what's important.
There you go.
No matter, if you know 4E like the back of your hand, you can roleplay just as well as 5E.
That's right.
Doesn't matter. And we always throw out the rules anyway.
That's true.
But that whole thing about what you were just saying about we're so the 80s really in America is where we had that whole Wall Street this is about me and getting my own and blah blah blah. And the last 30 years, basically our entire existence has been that whole that's the way that things go, and the internet seemed like it was pushing that way. Until we created these little communities where we were like, it's almost like we're the resistance going, no!
Yes. Well, that's because
No!
The older generation sees the selfies and the Snapchats and those stories and the streams, and they see narcissism, and what it really is no, this is our way of, this is like a fast way to have friends. We're making friends faster than you ever could.
Yeah. You narcissist!
No.
Yeah. Okay. What have been the most important lessons learned from live streaming games?
About how to, or?
Really, it's your interpretation.
I want to jump in and say that humility. It is a big fat mirror when a camera's on you, and there is. Especially for me, I'm a steamroller, and I want to tell my story as a player, and when that camera is on, I know when that camera's on, you're just hyper aware that wait, that person you were watching it through the lens, so they might go like this, and it's like, oh wait, they were gonna have that moment, and I might have taken it from them, and it's this humility of like, well, then I'm shutting up for a while so that someone else can shine. And there's this need to tell your story, and then you just need to realize there's also a need to let the other person tell theirs
and listen to them
and listen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump the order and put Matt under the bus on this one while I think a little longer.
Have you learned nothing? That sounds about right.
I'll back up what you say, humility in many different ways. I mean, putting yourself out there for a community to experience in something that is so personal as playing a game with people you care about can be a very, very sensitive thing. And the internet is not always a very kind place. So you learn quickly, one, to try your best to tune it out. And you won't always succeed because we are, by nature, insecure people that are trying to reach out for some purpose in other people around us. But it's an important lesson through that process I've learned to focus instead on the positive, to focus on the people that are along with you and excited for it. And more importantly, listen to your players, because ultimately you're there for the experience of you and everybody at the table. That's right. And as long as you're being genuine and you're having a good time, everyone else who matters will fall into and come along with you.
So I think I figured it out.
Okay, what you got?
It better be good.
I know, right? So I think that for what I learned most from that is that we have a responsibility as the people that are showing other people what this is. I mean, to a degree, regardless of how good our game is or how bad it is, people look at that and go, oh, that's how I'm supposed to do that. This is what's acceptable, right? So we have a responsibility to the people that are out there, not to necessarily handhold them through a game, but to teach them.
I never thought about that.
Stop interrupting me! No, I'm just kidding. We have the responsibility to make this community real, and to say like I'm setting something up that shows you what's acceptable in this game, but also what's acceptable about how to treat each other. How many things in life did we learn from D&D? Like just the things that you and Satine were talking about during your GM tips is that, you know, like you're talking about the moments that you learned something that was a life lesson. And we are here to pass that torch in a way to people that are on the other side and show them that show them that they can do that thing. And then also to help get rid of the bad stuff that plagued us for so long as individuals or as a community with gaming and suicide or mental health care issues that we are here to help you with, because you're not alone. We've all gone through these things.
And that's that's on accident. Like, we're learning and we're playing. We're people who have our own set of issues, and we are learning about boundaries and how to communicate with each other. And it's all a learning process. And it's funny because I see all this text on the internet, like, that's how you're supposed to do it. This is exactly the one way to do the thing. And it's like, I'm going to your GM tips to learn the way. And it's like, the most important thing is that we are all fallible, and you have to learn from your mistakes.
And we're all being in fear.
And you can't punish somebody for having accidents. You know, like,
got to do your best.
All you can do is get better the next time.
And then try to protect those people when they do. Try to keep them, you know, like even if you have to take a step back from a thing and you need to take a break, you need to have a moment where you're like, I need to step back. And sometimes you don't see it. Sometimes somebody else has to tell you, like, hey, I think it's going to be a good idea for you to maybe sit out a little bit, maybe take a couple weeks. And that you don't know to do that unless you've seen somebody else do it, or you've seen somebody, like nature versus nurture. The nature part is we wake up and we're like, oh shoot, I'm hungry. Outside of that, almost everything else is nurture based on what we've learned from the people around us. And that's what we're trying to do. We nurture our communities, we nurture each other, we nurture our players at the table, we nurture each other as DMs. And that's what we get out of this whole thing from live streaming, is it just a bigger platform to help people.
Yeah.
Can we get him a mic to drop? Can we just fly out on set real fast?
I don't know. Where's Joe's fucking head?
Just go like this, and we'll put it in post.
That was great.
Oh, that'd be great.
Can it just be sprinkles that drop out of my head?
Okay. So, the community, the greater community, what are your different experiences with the people who are on these adventures with you? Not at your table, but the people that are watching. Rudy. Rudy, you go first.
Rudy, you go first, buddy.
We get to play.
And they get to watch.
And they get to watch.
And then they're like, hey, remember when you did the thing?
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we did the thing.
And they come up to the players and they're like, oh my God, when you jumped off a cliff and turned into a goldfish, I felt that way too. That was me. Things like that are amazing. Yes. And when you can see that, like, it's not just about the GM, you know? It's about everybody that's there. And for me, when Satine melts people's brains, because I made one of the Scion things, is if she goes in to investigate somebody's mind, she's got to roll to see how connected she is. If she crits, they melt.
I've killed people by melting their brain.
Which is the hilarious part is she never crits, so I thought it was safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The moment you taunt fate.
Right?
Yeah. Somebody recently asked me, how are your dice treating you? And I was like, randomly.
No, it's surreal. I mean, none of us, when this experience began to emerge, expected the scope of community, let alone the impact and the connection that we'd have with it. And I think responsibility, what you mentioned before, is so big on this because we suddenly find ourselves thrust in this space where so many people are looking up to us that it's our responsibility to be honest with the fact that all of our experiences, all of our games, all of our tips are just suggestions. And that everything we offer is from our own personal experiences, and there's such a wider breadth of experiences out there to learn from beyond just us. But as a community, we're allowing them to go out and find that. And getting the chance to interact with these people who have been so invested in our stories, I mean, it's humbling, it's inspiring. I've cried many times in public in front of complete strangers because you hear stories. You don't realize how much of an impact a story could have on somebody's life. How many people out there, I mean, we get emails weekly of people saying, I was literally planning to kill myself, and then I saw your show, and I wanted to see what happened next episode. What happened next episode, and next episode. And here I am 6 months later, and I found myself, and I found the job, and I found someone who loves me. And that's common. And you think about how many people in this world just need that connection. They need something. They need a story to hold on to. They need something to represent that darkness and the hope that a lot of this world doesn't allow. And I think ultimately what these stories allow for, what the purpose of a role-playing game story in us as GMs is to create hope and allow a path to that through challenge, fraught with difficulty, but to allow hope.
Yeah.
And that resonates with so many people out there, and we just not only grant that to them, but empower them the ability to then go and create their own.
Yeah.
And that is incredible.
Amy and I at Gen Con, and Rudy, I've always felt like the weird alien girl who sits at the sidelines and is almost kind of accepted a little bit, but Gen Con was phenomenal, and I was like, people are wanting to take selfies, and I'm like, you don't know how lonely I feel. And that, they would take a selfie, and then I whip out my camera. I'm gonna make, I haven't had time yet, but I wanna make all the selfies that people posted and the ones on my phone. I'm making a photo of it, a picture collage, because they don't understand that for the first time in my whole life, I no longer feel like a weird alien. I actually, I share something with thousands and thousands of people, and that rock that had been sitting on my shoulder is gone. I don't feel alone. I don't think I'll ever feel really alone ever again. And it's just because of this fucking community. It's the coolest thing. 7 years when we did the charity event, I could never, ever have imagined this beauty and all this amazing things that we share just because we are little ass kids and we just want to play with other people. Yeah. And I don't mean to cut you off from your sharing, but I am so grateful. I am so grateful that you guys are here sharing these last episodes of this with me, because this is why we do it, and I know this is why you do it, and it's why you do it, and you, and it's just
I think we're the luckiest because we actually have a community that gets it. We have we don't have trolls. We have love. Like we have people who are like, I see.
To be fair,
trolls.
But we have paladins too. Smite trolls quickly.
It's the ratio.
Oh my God.
Absolutely, because no one's going to watch something they hate for 3 hours. It's going to go away.
Oh my God, episode 114 was the worst. Like, dude, if you're there for that many episodes, I'm happy you're here.
It made you watch
I know.
We have to wrap really quick, but I want to hear you.
Okay, I have 2 things to say. One is when you said alien, it struck a chord because in college, in theater, there was a man in the kid in the green room, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't get cast. Or they cast me as this clown, but I always get cast as a clown. I never get cast as a real person. No one thinks I'm a real person." And I go, "Oh, Bernie, like I think you're a real person." And he goes, "Great, the alien thinks I'm a real person."
Wow.
So
look at us now.
No, this is the thing. It's like we're all these weirdos that like found something here. So I love that story.
Weird. That's the thing. Is
I love that story.
We're not weird.
Absolutely.
We aren't. We're just us, and that is the coolest thing, that we are super honest. I hate to end this, but you guys are just beautiful and amazing, and thank you guys for watching. This has just been incredible. That's the end of our show. You guys, tell everyone where they can find you on the internet.
I think maybe we should do this again in a year.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
I think that would be freaking awesome.
I hate that you're sitting over there crying.
I know.
In that
And
thing.
we're
I
so
feel
far
like I want
away.
you like here.
Come on and join us in the chat.
There you go.
There we go.
This feels better. This feels better.
All right. So you can find all of us here on a pretty regular basis. Here being Geek and Sundry, Alpha, the Internet, Maze Arcana, anywhere that you can literally Google us and pop that stuff up. Go ahead.
Social media, you can find me at Matthew Mercer on Twitter, at Matthew Mercer VO on Instagram, and Critical Role here Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific on Geek and Sundry's Twitch.
And I'm at Vorpal Sword on all of the things.
I am Rudy Woot on basically all of the things, and then you can find me on D&D, twitch.tv/D&D on Wednesdays, and then occasionally on Tuesdays. Doing some D&D there, and then Maze Arcana on Sundays, running some Orphan Echo and Eberron.
As always, I'm Satine Phoenix at Satine Phoenix. You can pick up and play one of my Guild Adept supplements for the Tomb of Annihilation on dmsguild.com. Watch me and her and him on Sagas of Sundry Dread on projectalpha.com. Catch me live with this guy every Sunday at noon on Maze Arcana's Orphan Echo. I love my life. And on twitch.tv/D&D. Wait, I read that backwards. I don't care. We're doing it live. Tuesday nights, Dungeon Mastering, Sirens of the Realms with this lady on twitch.tv/D&D. Thank you guys for watching. This is awesome. We love Geek and Sundry. We love Project Alpha and Nerdist and all these, and we love you. See you guys next time. However, we're not ending. Actually.
Ooh.
Yes?
Satine.
Yes?
Will you GM us out?
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I can't look at you guys. You guys are ridiculous. I love it. Okay. Full sprint running. You're running through this forest. This horn goes off. You're running, you hear other things running behind you, and suddenly the ground falls from beneath the three of you, and you all fall cascading down with the light that is, and the dirt and the leaves, and you all hit the ground. Boom! And it's quiet. You hear footsteps from way above, and you look up, and there's just one beam of light, and the dust, and finally, you're at peace. But you look at each other, and there's this internal ticking clock going on in your head, and parts of your face are falling off. You look, and he's got scales falling off, and you remember there's one antidote. And you look down to the end of the room, and there's another small beam of light cascading down, and one golden vial. And you know that is the only antidote for what you have. And there's 3 of you. Who gets it first?
I turn, look up to the beam of light. Look at these 2. Shove them forward. Go. I'll hold them off.
Not alone. I'm going in. Go get it, girl.
I do.
Of course you do.
One of us is gonna.
We always loved you, Jesus!